I'm not sure how long I was out, but just before losing my vision, I briefly regained consciousness. The last thing my eyes saw was my squad mate standing in front of me, looking back. When I woke up again, I was already back at base. The higher-ups detonated the Shiryu pillars, and finally managed to bring Hollow Zero under control. I don't know who rescued me from the Hollow, but none of my squad mates had made it out. For some reason, the image of my squad mates being the last thing I saw has stayed in my mind. It must be some kind of sign. A sign that they're still alive. Don't you think? They must have continued fighting after I fell unconscious, eventually getting lost in some hollow and losing contact with the main force, left to wander between the various hollows of New Eridu. That must have been what happened, right? The defense force, civilians, no one believes me. So I decided to find them myself. The reason behind these eyes, it's got to be to guide me to finding them still alive. Am I wrong, Proxy? Are these eyes pointless? I knew that's what you thought. Interpreting what my eyes see as proof my squad mates are still alive is just wishful thinking. But if they're really gone, why would I have been given these eyes, which bring nothing but pain? If they're truly no longer alive, how can I apologize to them in person? Tell them I'm sorry. Sorry for being so weak. Sorry that I failed to protect them. Their faces are all so blurry. I can't see their expressions. I can't even bear to look at them. If their final look at me was filled with resentment and disappointment, I wouldn't know how to handle it.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to stand here and speak on behalf of all of the soldiers of the Defense Force. Today, we gather to commemorate Remembrance Day, a day born from the tragedy of the old capital's fall. Many of us lost relatives or friends in the disaster, and I am no exception. Every member of my squad perished in that battle, leaving me as the only survivor. Losing the friends you cherish to the Hollow is a pain that never fades. It's a sorrow that will stay with us, now and forever. However, to the families of the fallen soldiers, hold your heads high with pride for your loved ones who gave their lives. They fought to the very last moment when the old capital fell. Death isn't the end, nor dishonor. It is their eternal medal. They gave their lives facing an unstoppable disaster, exchanging their sacrifice for the world we have today. In doing so, they fulfilled their duties as soldiers to perfection. Without the blood they spilled, Eridu would not have endured, and New Eridu would never have risen from the ashes. In honor of the wishes of the departed, look ahead, people of New Eridu. Our thoughts and remembrance of those who passed will be carried in every flicker of candlelight and in every bouquet of flowers. My speech was meant to end here, but since you all seem quite engaged, please allow me to share a little more. The reason you all agree with what I've said is because it offers a way to step away from the pain. That's what the living do. They seek ways to ease the weight of others' deaths so they can find a way to start over. This is the New Eridu of today. A huge disaster consumed the old capital, and the people who survived it keep saying things like, treasure the moment and start fresh to numb themselves, hoping to forget the nightmare. No one talks about the soldiers who gave their lives in Hollow Zero. No one asks why they had to die. The brave gave their lives battling the ethereal onslaught, while the weak survived. This is New Eridu, built by weaklings. Its order founded upon their way of thinking. Your applause makes me realize you all accept this logic. Each of you had loved ones who sacrificed their lives in the fall of the old capital. And now, you're thankful that someone has encouraged you to move on from them. What meaning does the sacrifice of those who died have if you all choose to forget? Have you never thought about why your own loved ones had to die? And why no one is responsible for their deaths?
Miss Zoe, there's not much time left for your,
Open your eyes! I'm speaking to those who have lost loved ones! If death is the medal for the fallen, then pain is the cross the living must bear. If you fear its weight and run from the suffering, the soldiers will never find peace in their eternal rest. To tear the wound open once again, so you'll never forget the searing pain! That's the real meaning of Remembrance Day!
I don't agree.
Charon, I didn't expect you to be here for Remembrance Day. How are things going with your search? Seems like you have something to say.
Among the people standing here, there's a woman who raised her daughter with the survivor benefits left by her husband. Another who's been able to carry on with her life thanks to the final efforts of her child. And yet another who's found purpose because of the influence of his late sister. The will of the deceased lives on in every person here. The soldiers who died during the fall of the old capital fought for this. The future that their loved ones are making for themselves now. The old me might have agreed with what you said, but someone taught me that pain and hardship can lead to hope. They helped me see that hope could be inherited, not just destroyed when life fades. That's why I believe the departed didn't leave us wounded or with a heavy cross to bear, but with a melody. Each of us holds a harmonica that plays the melody of life. At first, it may sound awkward, but it will eventually flow smoothly, taking on our own style, until it merges with our soul.
You seem quite certain about what you're saying. Tell me then, what kind of melody is left behind by those we've lost?
I'm not sure. I can't picture the exact melody, but I trust the answer I've chosen. And I trust everything I've seen and heard.
A vague and insubstantial answer, isn't it? I was right about you, Charon. From the moment we met, I knew we'd never really understand each other.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Everyone, I apologize for taking up your time. My speech ends here. Please feel free to continue with your visit. The real failure as a sniper is the one who's been forced into a corner, like you!
It's shifting.
I won't fall for your distractions so easily. What?
I will surpass you with my own melody of victory. And let the wind be the opening notes.
Charon! No! Wake up! Charon! What's this?
Just you? Where's your friend, the proxy?
The proxy went to rescue the hostages. I want to speak with you alone. A sniper should always monitor the changes to their surroundings, factoring the environment into their tactics. Being blinded by the intent to kill and failing to take this into account was your downfall.
Didn't expect to be lectured by a youngster. What a disgrace. When my view was blocked, I realized you'd used the visual blind spot to reposition. so I adjusted my aim accordingly. But I still couldn't hit you.
Your prediction and accuracy were spot on. I was just saved once again by this. By both this harmonica and by my former comrades.
Are you trying to say that this is destiny? That it's the will of my companions guarding me? I lost to the wave of ethereals, to the military's betrayal. And now I lose to your reckless actions, driven by some ridiculous fantasy. Your fantasy, your attitude, your very existence, and the outcome of this battle. They are the greatest denial and insult to my revenge.
Yet you're emitting a much calmer ether energy now. Almost as if you found relief.
My vision is fading. I can't see my comrades on the brink of death anymore. My wounds are fatal. I don't feel any pain. Relief. It's not such a bad thing.
Did you intend for me to kill you from the start?
Let me answer that question with a story. The first time I saw you was actually during the fall of the old capital. My comrades were all dead, and the reinforcements the higher-ups promised before the mission never came. I can't even remember how long the fight went on. Ultimately, I had no choice but to retreat, failing to bring back my squad mates' bodies. I made my way through one battle line after another. The advanced troops were nearly wiped out. But when I reached a certain front, a small squad of survivors called out to me. Few people can still stand after such severe corruption and injury, but all 5 of them were still fighting. They were protecting a girl who had lost her sight and fallen unconscious while searching for a way out of the hollow. They told me they were beyond saving, and if I planned to retreat, I must take the girl with me. I couldn't turn down the last request of a group of heroic soldiers about to die in battle. Your comrades entrusted your life to me. I was the one who brought you out of the hollow. You already know what happened afterward. It didn't take long for you to leave the Defense Force after you came to. Just like me, I developed PTSD so intense that sometimes I couldn't even hold a normal conversation. But for me, the hardest blow was the death of my squad. To an orphan like me, they were family. If the reinforcements had kept their word and provided support, they wouldn't have died for nothing. Don't you ever have that thought?
To say I don't would be a lie, but I think deep down you know. From the moment we stepped into the hollow, there was no way we were getting saved. Given how quickly the hollow was spreading, and the ever-increasing number of ethereals, it would take the sacrifice of countless Defense Force troops to suppress it. It wasn't something that could have been accomplished in such a short time. The reinforcements would have only been a drop in the bucket. More sacrifices without results. Canceling the reinforcements, sending the advanced troops to rescue as many civilians as possible to minimize casualties. I think most commanders would have made the same decision.
Objective and cold logic. I understand it, of course. But when you see members of the reinforcements living happy lives years later, can you still keep your composure? I couldn't. Even if the chance was minuscule, I wanted my squad mates to survive. But they turned that chance to 0, and still have the nerve to embrace a peaceful future. I can't help but resent them. By the time I realized what I'd done, I had already taken several lives. Nathan, When I tied him up and was about to kill him, he begged me to spare him, saying he had something to give you, no matter what. That was when you re-entered my line of sight. I think I've said this before. We're very similar, yet we have completely opposite beliefs. After meeting you, I became even more certain. In the face of suffering, I chose destruction, while you were destined to choose to protect. But you're still entangled in your obsession with your squad mates. If this continues, you'll eventually sink into a void of despair. Your hope is like a bubble, ready to burst at any moment. The version of you I want to kill is the complete one, who can firmly reject my answer. If you haven't found your answer yet, then I'll be the one to push you forward. I kill you, or you end me. Either way works. But after seeing your growth, maybe I'd prefer you to step over my body. That's the final answer.
Why?
Emptiness and doubt. No matter how many targets of my revenge I took down, nothing changed. Aiming my gun at former comrades, drowning in hate and rage, all it left was a hollow emptiness. But you're different. You've gained unconditional trust from the proxy. You have the courage to fight through my trap. And eventually, you'll have a melody that's uniquely yours. My belief has faltered. I finally remember my squad mates were fools just like you. You're right. They would never want me to become this way. And talk about carrying their cross. But in truth, I never carried their will. So be it. Take the hostage and go. A villain stained with the blood of others deserves nothing but a miserable end. I'm looking forward to how long you'll be able to protect those in front of your eyes. It can still be played after taking a bullet. Impressive.
This is my final melody to you. No matter how miserable you've become, I'll still remember you. Remember we once shared the same path in life, but in the end, our paths diverged. Your hatred has long twisted into sin, but if not for you, I wouldn't have learned how to hate, or found the true targets of my hatred. I used to know nothing. My teammates served as my teachers and taught me so much, and I think you must be my final teacher. You taught me, in the most intense way, what hatred truly means.
Really? So you found someone you want revenge against too? That's good.